Hello students, myself Dr. Sureka, lecturer, Department of Biochemistry, SRM Dental College, Ramapuram. Today I am going to discuss on the topic vitamin B12, otherwise called as cobalamin and lipoic acid.
Cobalamin or vitamin B12, which is also called as anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. This is the unique vitamin which is present majorly in the animal source. It is also produced by the intestinal bacteria. The cobalamin is not present in the plant source. So plants do not contain vitamin B12. When you come to the structure of vitamin B12, it has got a complex structure. It bears a complex corin ring. Corin ring is similar to the porphyrin ring with four pyrrole rings. Four pyrrole rings will be mentioned as A, B, C, D. In porphyrin, the A, B, C, D pyrrole rings will be connected with the methane bridge. So for in the hemoglobin structure, we have seen how the pyrrole rings are linked with the methane bridge. However, in corin ring, A and D are bound together, where B and C alone are linked with the methane bridge. That's why it is called as corin ring. Whereas your porphyrin, all the four pyrrole rings are connected with the methane bridge, where in corin only BC connected with the methane bridge and AD are bound together. And at the center, you can find the cobalt atom in the corin ring in case of vitamin B12 structure. And the cobalt also hold dimethyl benzoimidazole containing ribose 5 phosphate and amino isopropanol. And here the sixth bond is linked to either methyl or 5 deoxy adenosyl or hydroxy group to form respective methyl cobalamin, adenosyl cobalamin, and hydroxy cobalamin. These are all the active forms of cobalamin. And in next slide, you can see the entire structure of vitamin B12. The active forms of vitamin B12 is methylcobalamin and deoxyadenosyl cobalamin. The methyl group gets attached to the cobalt atom of the cobalamin to form methylcobalamin. Similarly, the deoxyadenosyl get attached to the cobalt atom of the cobalamin to form deoxyadenosyl cobalamin. And when you come to the sources of vitamin B12, I told you the animals are the richest source of vitamin B12. There is no available plant source of vitamin B12. Similarly, the dairy products also contain a minimum amount of vitamin B12, and the vitamin B12 will also be synthesized by the intestinal bacteria. This slide shows you the absorption, transport, and storage of vitamin B12 or cobalamin. First of all, here the picture showing the digestion, absorption, and storage of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 will always be in the bound form. They don't present in the separate or they don't be available in free form. So the B12 here first binding the binding protein, and the salivary gland secretes the salivary fluid along with heptacorin. So from the mouth, the B12 binding protein and heptacorin enters into the stomach, where the gastric parietal cells of stomach secretes a pepsin and intrinsic factor. Pepsin in turn acts on the binding protein and cleaves the B12 from the binding protein. This will be taken up by the heptacorin. Resulting product will be heptacorin B12 complex. Similarly, the intrinsic factor secreted from the gastric parietal cell, which is a glycoprotein, which helps in the absorption in the intestine. So when this enters the intestine, the pancreatic enzyme secreted by the pancreas, that is the protease, act on the heptacorin B12 complex and split up the heptacorin from the B12. Now this intrinsic factor takes up the B12 and forms intrinsic factor B12 complex, and this complex binds to the specific receptor on the surface of the mucosal cells of the ileum, leading to the absorption that we will see in the next slide. And after binding to the receptor, the vitamin B12 gets released from the intrinsic factor and vitamin B12 complex and enters the mucosal cells of the ileum through calcium dependent process. In the mucosal cell, it gets activated by means of methyl group gets attached to the cobalt atom of the cobalamin to form methyl cobalamin. Lastly, the methyl cobalamin gets transported in the blood circulation as transcobalamin 1 and transcobalamin 2, which is indicated as TC1 and TC2. The active form of cobalamin is methylcobalamin, which gets entered into the systemic circulation as transcobalamin 1 and 2, where it can, so that it can reaches the peripheral organs. When it is present in excess, it can be stored in the liver as a deoxyadenosyl B12 form. Liver is a major organ where the vitamin B12 gets stored about 4 to 5 milligram. This is the more sufficient to meet the body requirement for 3 to 6 years. And it is the only vitamin, I mean water soluble vitamin, which can be stored in the system in the liver. When you come to the biochemical function of cobalamin, only two reactions in mammals that are depend on vitamin B12. One here it is mentioned is isomerization of methylmalonyl CoA to succinyl CoA. So from metabolism of amino acids such as leucine, methionine, valine, and odd chain fatty acid, resulting product will be the propionyl CoA. Propionyl CoA will be converted into methylmalonyl CoA, where your biotin vitamin will be involved in the carboxylation reaction. So again, the methylmalonyl CoA again converted into succinyl CoA in presence of vitamin B12. Here the enzyme involved is methylmalonyl CoA isomerase. So the isomerase enzyme involved in the hydrogen transfer and intermolecular rearrangement to form succinyl CoA in the presence of vitamin B12. So when you are deficient with vitamin B12, the system will be accumulated with L-methylmalonyl CoA, thereby resulting in the excretion of methylmalonyl CoA in the urine. This is the first reaction where vitamin B12 acts as a coenzyme in the isomerization of methylmalonyl CoA to succinyl CoA. The another important reaction where your vitamin B12 involved will be seen in the next slide. The another important reaction where vitamin B12 acts as a coenzyme is the conversion of homocysteine to methionine. Here the methylcobalamin is used in this reaction. This is the important coenzyme which involves in the conversion of homocysteine to methionine. So first the methylcobalamin takes up the methyl group from tetrahydrofolate, and tetrahydrofolate gets liberated. So the cobalamin gets converted into methylcobalamin. So here the cobalamin donates its methyl group to homocysteine to form methionine. Methionine in turn donates the methyl group to the respective substrates. And this reaction signifies the interrelation between the vitamin B12 and the folic acid. And this is the reaction which require both folate and the vitamin B12 for the formation of efficient methyl donor, that is methionine. The recommended dietary allowance of vitamin B12 was found to be 3 mg for adults. For pregnancy and lactating women, the recommendation of your vitamin B12 was found to be increased. When you come to the deficiency syndrome, deficiency of vitamin B12 may be due to decreased absorption or decreased dietary intake of vitamin B12. Because I already told you, vitamin B12 will be present majorly in the animal source, and it is also produced by the intestinal bacteria. So plant do not contain a source of vitamin B12. So people who are strict vegetarians, they do have a deficiency of vitamin B12. So they show symptoms such as pernicious anemia, megaloblastic anemia, methylmalonic aciduria, and neuropathy. We'll see about this symptoms in the next slide. The first important deficiency of vitamin B12 is pernicious anemia, which is caused by the deficiency of intrinsic factor by the gastric parietal cells in the stomach. So I told you already the intrinsic factors are required for the absorption of vitamin B12. So when there is a deficiency of intrinsic factor synthesis, there will be an impairment in the absorption of vitamin B12, leading to the condition called pernicious anemia. It is characterized by megaloblastic anemia and also low hemoglobin level with neurological disorders. When you come to the second deficiency, that is megaloblastic anemia, which is maybe due to the deficiency of vitamin B12 and also due to deficiency of folic acid. So both the deficiency can lead to the condition called megaloblastic anemia. Because the megaloblastic anemia involves the DNA synthesis of RBC in the bone marrow will be impaired. So during which there will be a release of large immature RBC into the blood circulation. The large immature RBC, they tend to undergo lysis very rapidly, leading to the condition called megaloblastic anemia. And when you come to the methylmalonic aciduria, Methylmalonic aciduria is due to the accumulation of methylmalonic acid in the system, leading to the release of methylmalonic acid in the urine. So I told you already, the vitamin B12 is required for the conversion of methylmalonic acid to succinic acid. When there is a deficiency of vitamin B12, there is accumulation of methylmalonic acid in the system, leading to the excretion of methylmalonic acid in the urine. So this in turn increases the acidity to the urine and leading to the condition called methylmalonic aciduria. The another important deficiency of vitamin B12 is neuropathy. Previously, we have seen the accumulation of methylmalonyl CoA or methylmalonic acid leads to the condition called methylmalonyl aciduria. Here, the accumulated methylmalonyl CoA causes degeneration of myelinated nerves. So, the accumulated methylmalonyl can impair the myelin sheath formation in the neurons, leading to the condition called neuropathy. This symptoms includes numbness and tingling of fingers and toes, mental confusion, poor muscular coordination, and dementia. The another important vitamin is a lipoic acid or a thioctic acid, which is a sulfur-containing fatty acid. This is not a truly vitamin, but it is also act as a fatty acid. It do exist as a two form. One is oxidized and reduced form, and it is also found to be a fat soluble as well as water soluble. Since it is existing as a fatty acid, it is also a fat soluble as well as a water soluble compound. And here they have provided the structure of lipoic acid. It involves in mostly in the decarboxylation reaction that will be followed in the next slide. When you come to the biochemical function of lipoic acid, I already told you the lipoic acid perform decarboxylation reaction. Unlike other vitamins, the lipoic acid cannot perform its own function individually or separately. They do depend on the other vitamins to perform decarboxylation reaction. So they depend mainly on thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, pantothenic acid. Here the picture showing the conversion of alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl CoA. Here the enzyme required is alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex. This is the complex enzyme which requires lipoic acid along with other coenzyme, other vitamins to perform the decarboxylation reaction. And also the pyruvate dehydrogenase is also another complex enzyme which involves in the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl CoA. There also they require lipoic acid as a coenzyme for the performing decarboxylation reaction along with the other vitamins. When we come to the recommended dietary allowance of lipoic acid, the administration of high dose, that is 100 to 600 milligram per day of lipoic acid, is gaining more importance because the lipoic acid plays a major role in therapeutic applications because it found to reduce the free radical generation in various organs including brain, because the free radicals, they play a major role in disease such as Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis. So the lipoic acid administration can reduce the free radical generation, in turn reduces the disease conditions such as Alzheimer's disease and multiple sclerosis. The free radical generation would be reduced by increasing the antioxidant status. So here the lipoic acid stimulate the production of glutathione and also found to recycle vitamin E and C. These role acts as an antioxidant and act on the free radicals, thereby reducing the disease such as Alzheimer's disease and multiple sclerosis. And also, lipoic acid found to reduce insulin resistance and brings down plasma low density lipoproteins, and it also found to prevent the system from stroke and myocardial infarction. So these are all the various therapeutic applications where lipoic acid gets involved in. And with this, I'm winding up the lecture.
Thank you.